It starts from the beginning.
Once you put it out at your street corner, it disappears.
Your blue bins are overfilling, and
I know what I put in my garbage, but I'm not sure about my neighbors.
There's absolutely a direct link between the way that we manage our waste and climate change.
500,000 tons of garbage goes up to Cache Creek each year, and basically has become a new mountain right along the side of what used to be the Trans-Canada Highway.
The biggest landfill in the region is the Vancouver Landfill, which is located in Delta next to Burns Bog, which takes about 700,000 tons a year. You know, it's one of the contributing factors that's degrading the ability for the bog to act as a source of clean air and water, as a habitat for species. You know, it's one of a number of just different sort of industrial projects that are having an impact on the bog. But as it continues to grow, it's a bigger and bigger issue. Of the stuff that's making its way to landfills or incinerators right now, about half of that could be recycled or composted.
Basically, composting is 50% of our garbage. So when you put food scraps into the landfill, they break down and they produce methane, which is a greenhouse gas.
It's something like 20 times more potent than carbon dioxide when released into the atmosphere.
How did you get here? You most likely got here by an internal combustion engine, and I really hate to tell you, but that's an incinerator.
If you're burning stuff, you're moving it along that chain of entropy much faster than anything else you could do. You're basically taking it from a usable, sort of useful material and then just basically evaporating it. It becomes no longer useful instantaneously.
At high heat, you're disposing of gases, and that's what incineration is.
These companies, which are huge multi-billion-dollar companies, went off to Europe and sort of improved their technology and also their sales pitch.
We have all kinds of instruments to measure.
They say, well, there isn't measurable amounts of materials, and that's because they're not looking at anything smaller than 1 micron.
I can breathe the air coming out of that stack of a waste-to-energy facility, and I'm not worried about it killing me.
These are basically particles the size of a virus that can pass through the blood-brain barrier, they can pass through cell membrane walls, they can even pass into a fetus.
We're dealing with things that people are afraid of.
If something seems too good to be true, it usually is.
What I put out at the street corner becomes a problem for somebody else. We have to deal with it. That's why we want to promote recycling.
I've been recycling for quite a long time. I've been lucky enough to live in cities that have curbside blue bins, so that makes it really easy.
Furniture, appliances, electronics, junk, rubbish, construction debris, drywall, green waste, concrete, everything there that I've mentioned is recyclable or has a large aspect of it that is recyclable.
One of my new pieces of advice and tips as the Queen of Green is actually proposing that people recycle less. So think about it this way. It's not good enough that we all recycle tons and tons and we all get 3 or 4 more blue bins, or what if we recycled, hundreds and hundreds of pounds of plastic? What if we all watched what we consumed, looked at the products that we bought and the packaging that was involved, and actually had less in our recycling bins? Because we're actually making smarter purchases and manufacturers are actually being a lot smarter about the products they produce.
I don't know anything about zero waste, if that's a program.
I guess consumers try not to make any waste.
The idea of not wasting any resources or anything, which is extremely difficult to actually pull off in modern day.
An unattainable goal.
I don't know what I know about 08. Nothing.
Provide more information.
Zero waste is all about closing the loop. So when we talk about zero waste, we look at it from, manufacturing processes until the end of the life cycle of a product. So we want to make sure that it's designed for the environment, that the components are repairable and recyclable.
We're regular people, and we generated maybe 4 pounds of garbage each in a year. When we thought of this project, we thought we were the only ones out there that had ever thought of it. We made a movie and we started touring with it, and sure enough, there are people in every single community we go to, and they're like, "Thank you for coming, I've been doing this for years." And they get so excited when we come to town, so it's been really cool to connect with those people.
People actually want to try and do the project. We just recently did a screening in Kamloops, and 4 kids right now are doing a year where they're not buying anything or producing garbage, and then they're blogging about it. That's amazing. Like, we totally get choked up. We had 3 rules for the project. We wanted to keep it simple. So the first one was no buying stuff. We decided to cut things coming into our house out, because eventually they're going to go to the landfill. So we said no stuff for a year.
Rule number 2 is no producing garbage. It's pretty straightforward.
And then the third one was take responsibility for our waste. So it wasn't just the garbage that we had at home. If we came in contact with something outside of the house, we had to make sure that we brought it home to compost. For example, at a restaurant, if you had something that was like a lemon wedge left on your plate, that comes home with you and goes in the compost. There was one rule that we had for me, because I had my own business, is I was allowed to make certain purchases that were totally necessary for work. So if a client needed something on a DVD, I was able to do that. I was able to buy the DVD and give it to them.
It's unrealistic to think that everybody can actually live with no garbage, but I think that everybody could live with at least 50% less. We did a cycle trip down the Pacific coast, and when we were traveling on our bikes, you travel pretty slow and you really notice things around you, and one of the things we really noticed was garbage. All along the side of the highway, we were carrying our recycling with us, sometimes for days on end, before we could find somewhere that we could put it. And when we got home, we're like, there's something that we can do to change this.
Recycling with the blue boxes and all that stuff.
I have a compost, I ride my bike, and I use reusable containers.
Most of my furniture is reused or acquired from friends, and very little of it's bought new.
Number one thing that people can do to reduce their waste is to compost.
Composting is one of the most important things that we can do in our daily lives.
That's 30 to 50% of our garbage could be compostable, made into soil, turned back into a resource.
Is to actually put landfill, the word landfill, on the garbage bin. Because garbage we've just got a little too comfortable with, and landfill kind of makes you think twice.
Yeah, about me. Okay, I bet you I can make less garbage than you can.
And I don't think it's that hard to achieve.
All about me. And point to you. About me. Say it's all. Go. It's all about me. Do it again. Go.
When we started getting in film festivals, we were quite surprised how much people actually are interested in garbage and our movie. And we had a situation where we were up for an award in Vail at our premiere, and they put us on the red carpet with celebrities, and it was super awkward because we really weren't sure if we were supposed to be there, and then they sort of shuffled us around to go on because we were part of the award ceremony. And we were standing beside like the guy from Sopranos, and like, hey, how's it going? We made a movie about garbage. Like, what do you say? It's like, I like the Sopranos.
You